G'day guys, Mackie with the House Circle, and today I want to talk about the different console options that are available to you in 30k. Now, this is going to be the generic consoles. It's not going to include the Legion specific ones, like the Diabolist or the Saboteur. So this is the common characters that are available to every single Legion. I will note down exceptions where it applies. So, the most basic of these is the Allegiant Centurion. Now, unlike in 40k, captains actually get a special rule called Consul, and they can actually be upgraded to different specializations. So you start out with a basic character who has, the standard sort of Marine, Weapon Skill 5, Ballistic Skill 5, Strength 4, Toughness 4, 2 Wounds, Initiative 5, 3 attacks base, Leadership 9, and a 3+ armor save. You can take this character and then you can further customize him, and you customize him to things like your librarians, your chaplains, that sort of thing. That's how HQ options work in 30k. Now, the Allegiant Centurion is the vanilla version, the most basic bitch version. Now, you can upgrade him with all different types of war gear, like Refractor Field for a 5+ Invul save, Artificer Armor, Cataphracti Armor, Tartarus Terminator Armor, a jet bike, all sorts of things. So these are things to keep in mind if you're going that route. Now that said, whilst the Legion Centurion is very points efficient, he is very vanilla, bland, doesn't really contribute much to the game. So the very, very first sort of upgrade that some people do to him is upgrade to the Legion Centurion with Early Crusade Honours. Now, this model is essentially the exact same thing as a Centurion. However, you get a Mastercrafted Power Fist, a Bolt Pistol, and Artificer Armor. And you always have the Child of Terror Warlord trait, if you're the Warlord, which is rerolling to wound rolls in combat against characters or some such, off the top of my head. Now, in all but name and model, completely identical to the Centurion. But it's not bad, as regular Centurions can't get Mastercrafted weapons, and Mastercrafted Power Fist, with rerolling to hit and rerolling to wound essentially, is pretty handy. So a good cheap little investment upgrade if you're that way inclined. The next one to go to from here is the Chaplain. Now, Chaplains in 30k have the Zealot rule, and they cause fear. The upgrade to a Chaplain also gives them the Crozius Arcanum power weapon. Now, this doesn't have to be a power maul. It could be a power sword, maul, axe, that kind of thing. Can't be a spear because technically it doesn't exist in 30k because reasons. But you can give him another weapon in the other hand, like a power fist, or put him in Terminator armor, all that sort of stuff. So there's quite a lot you can do with the Chaplain. It's a very versatile HQ, a very strong one in 30k. But other HQ options that sort of have more gimmicks often get chosen instead. But if you're a melee-oriented army, such as the World Eaters, Blood Angels, Emperor's Children, that kind of thing, it's a really good HQ for those forces. Oh, and another point, I'm afraid you don't have a Rosarius in 30k, so no 4+ Invul. But you can get a 4+ Invul if you take Cataphracti Armor. Now, the next guy along is the Master of Signals. The Master of Signals has a special rule that once per game, you drop an Orbital Bombardment down, which is Strength 8, AP 3, and it's D3 of Large Blasts. You come equipped with the Cognus Signum as well, that grants +1 ballistic skill to nearby friendly units. A specific unit that's within 6 inches, in fact, and it can be any sort of unit within 6 inches. Can be very handy buffing like Devastator squads, that sort of thing. Good little HQ. Also, thanks to the Nuncio Vox, if you're firing barrage weapons such as Medusas, Basilisks, Whirlwinds, he can actually act as the line of sight for them so they don't get the nasty 2d6 full scatter. And of course, if you deep strike nearby, he acts as basically a teleport beacon, so you get accurate deep strikes. So, pretty good all-rounder. However, there's a trade-off for all these abilities. Firstly, you have very, very limited war gear. You can't take Terminator armor of any kind, you can't take any kind of bike. Basically, all you can take is basic power weapons. You can't even take a power fist. So, he really is a support character, and in no way can he prop your army up melee-wise. Another thing is a little rule called the Allegiant Support Officer. So, this rule will pop up a few times through the consoles, but essentially it just means you cannot take this character for your compulsory HQ slot. This rules them out of things like being your allies, and if for whatever reason you have to take multiple compulsory HQs, as some legions do, he can't fill that role either. So it does quite restrict you in that regard. So generally you're going to have to pay for another HQ first before you get to this guy. It's painful. The next one along is the Allegiant Champion. Now this is another very cheap upgrade. Essentially you take a normal Centurion, you get free point of weapon skill increase, so you go up to weapon skill 6. You also get to mastercraft a single melee weapon of your choice. You get precision strikes and an oath, which means that you can always reroll failed glorious intervention attempts and always issue challenges. No war gear restrictions either. Not a bad character, but you never see them played. I don't know, something needs to be changed on them. More attacks or some such, perhaps. But they're not in a good place right now because I'd rather take a Chaplain. And yeah, I don't get the master crafted weapon, but I do get the free power weapon, and I also get Fearless, and I get Zealot. I can buff the whole unit I'm with Fearless. They're handy things, whereas +1 weapon skill and master crafted, you're probably almost better off with just the Legion Centurion with Late Crusade Honours. So yeah, not a common one, even in the melee armies. Next up, the Vigil Ater. The Vigil Ater is pretty cool. The Vigil Ater is essentially a sniper character. You grant Scout to their attached units. They have Stealth if you choose to take the Chameleon Cloak. They may downgrade their power armor into Scout armor, and if you do this, you gain Infiltrate and live through cover. But unfortunately, the Infiltrate won't actually get conferred to the units you join, so it's got its moments. They also come with special issue ammunition and the Sniper special rule, which, hey, you've got precision shot, pretty handy, good little shooting unit. If you attach to things like Seekers, Mordevian, Legion Recon troops, even not a bad unit to attach to veterans, to be honest. Has this neat little rule called the Pregame Sabotage, where you get D6 Strength 5 AP 6 units on any enemy unit of your choosing, and if it hits a vehicle, it always hits them on the weakest armor facing. So yeah, pretty good little ability. First Blood and a Rhino in deployment is something I have seen happen with my own Raven Guard. It's pretty funny when it happens. This is very much a Raven Guard or perhaps Elf Legion character, because if you go Raven Guard, you can get that Infiltrate for free just from your Legion tactics, and you can keep Artificer armor. You don't have to worry about the Scout armor. So while other guys have to drop down to a 4+ save, you can rock around with a 2+ save and just laugh at your enemies. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Again, doesn't see much use on the tabletop, because outside of the Elf Legion and the Raven Guard, it's not really a great character. So, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. It's a fun character, though. Alright, the Legion Librarian. Now, this one's one of those characters which has changed quite a lot. Another one which we'll cover off on later is the Moritat. But the Legion Librarian can now only purchase 2 mastery levels. They don't have a Psychic Hood, and they have to pick a single Psychic discipline. So no mixing and matching of different disciplines like Pyromancy and Divination. It's just one or the other. They get access to the Consul gear, you know, Terminator armor, bikes, that kind of thing. They are, however, another Legion support officer, and are very pricey. You're paying 25 points per Psychic Mastery level, which does tend to hurt. Me personally, as a Thousand Suns player, I never take Librarians. A lot of people go, oh, that's crazy. No, I just upgrade other characters into Psychers. That's just easier. We get the best of both worlds that way, and yeah, I only get 1 Mastery level on other characters and not 2, but I get more bang for my buck upgrading like a Praevian Consul or Chaplain into a Psycho. A Chaplain Librarian is way superior to just a Librarian, in my opinion. So armies it works well in, not bad in the Word Bearers. I don't know, Psychic Powers are in a bad place in the Heresy right now, unless you're a Thousand Suns player, and even then they're pretty iffy. If you do come up against a Thousand Suns player, you're fucked. Your one Librarian won't do shit, trust me. If you are playing a lot of games, though, using a Librarian, he may come into his own. He's a good little unit to buff with, especially if you're taking things like Biomancy or Divination. Very good at helping your own squad out with that. But it's a real gimmicky unit, and I don't think they're worth it generally to take. Alright, next along, the Forge Lord. Now, the Forge Lord is essentially the 30k equivalent of the Master of the Forge from 40k, so a Tech Marine HQ choice. They get the choices, however, of war gear from both Legion Tech Marines, which are an Elite's choice, and Consuls. So this enables you to take not only like the Terminator armor, Power Fist, Charnable Sabers, any of that sort of thing that takes your fancy, but you can also take things like Conversion Beamers, you can take Augury Scanners, Cortex Controllers, Cyber Familiar, Rad Grenades, Battle Servitors, just some real fun little gimmicks. This is one of my favourite go-to characters because they hit as hard as all the other Consuls do, usually with an extra attack from that servo arm. They usually have a 3+ invulnerable save because you put them in Cataphracti armor and then give them a Cyber Familiar, which is, +1 to your invul save. The Rad Grenades, of course, knocks down a target that you charge its toughness by 1, so it makes those Custodes toughness 4, so then you can punch the shit out of them with Power Fists, like the servo army's wearing. What else? Oh, a great one that I like to do is take a squad of Servitors, give the Servitors missile launchers, and because the Tech Marine has Rad Grenades, you can upgrade said missile launchers to Rad missile launchers, and they are as brutal as you think they are. Great for killing massed infantry, pretty good against the Mechanicum and their monstrous creature spam. Can kill the Primarch Angron with a few lucky shots because he only has a 3+ armor save. And if you're Raven Guard, bonus points if you infiltrate them and troll them up into a bell tower somewhere so they can just shoot all across the table. Pretty funny stuff. Yeah, big fan of the Forge Lord. Very, very good all-rounder. One of the best Consul options. Any army they're good in. They get exponentially better in some armies, such as the Iron Hands, Iron Warriors. Not bad in Salamanders. It really depends. Very tough in the Death Guard as well. So, alright. Now for another fun one. The Primus Medica. The Primus Medica is the Apothecaries of the Legions. They get both Feel No Pain, which they grant to the attached Space Marine unit, and here's the thing, it's only Space Marine units. So, Custodes, Solar Auxilia, Militia, none of those get it. Only Marine units. Interesting thing, if you kill a unit within, I think it's 12 inches of Primus Medica, you roll a d6, and if you roll a 5 or a 6, then the other guy you're playing doesn't get a victory point for kill point for them, which is, I've never seen it go off, because everyone forgets it exists, because it's just one of those rules. But now, thought I'd point it out. Let's think. Yeah, you've got access to the Needle Gun, Strength 2, AP 5 with Rending and Poisoned. It's better than a Bolter, I'll give it that. You can't take Power Fists, Chain Fists, you can't take a Boarding Shield, you can't take a pair of Lightning Cores. You can take a bike, jet bike, jump pack, Terminator armor, so, you can make up for it. However, this one is another Legion support officer, so again, can't be a compulsory HQ choice. Does really suck when you're playing Allied Detachment, that kind of thing. Alright, one of my old favourite characters, which got nerfed so hard, so retardedly by Forge World, I wonder why they even bother writing rules sometimes. The Moritat. Basically, this is a gunslinger. You get 2 bolt pistols, rad grenades, scout, counterattack, and you get the chain fire, which is every time you successfully hit with each pistol shot. You get an additional shot up to a maximum of 12 or until both pistols miss. Downside is weapons that get hot, such as plasma pistols, which used to be the go-to weapon for them, overheat on a 1 and a 2. So you roll a hit, but somehow it overheats anyway, and just fuck you. Chain fire just stops immediately at that point. Is very frustrating. It's too much of a nerf, too much overkill. Real shame, because it was a really fluffy, good character, and now it's just a really expensive paperweight. Like, you'd be better served taking something like a 5-man Legion tactical support squad with plasma guns. Because essentially the guy gets off a couple of shots, and then, oh, I missed. Now I have to take an armor save, even though I rolled a 2 to hit. Because, I mean, that's the risk. You've only got a 60% chance of hitting with the plasma pistols. And if you're running 2 of them, well, yeah. Another thing that hurts them, they have the Lone Killer special rule, which prevents them from acting as an army's compulsory HQ or warlord. They can't join units of any kind other than destroyer squads. They can't receive blessings, psychic blessings, that is, unless they cast on themselves. As far as I know, there's nothing stopping you from making 1,000 Suns Moritat. What else? They don't benefit from the rules of special characters, warlord traits, rights of war, etc. There are no benefits for taking one. I don't know. It used to be really good in the Raven Guard army. Now I recommend it to no one. Some people like to say, oh, the Twin Inferno pistol armed Moritat is really good. Blood Angels, no, not really. It's only a 6-inch kill bubble. It's very hard to get a lot of models within that 6 inches, so you don't really get enough shots to justify him, and because he is such a sort of high threat factor, he usually just gets killed the next turn anyway. So, it is what it is. And if you're Salamanders, you just can't take them, period, because they think that rad weapons and plasma weapons, or that the Moritat uses for whatever reason, are against the Geneva Convention or something, and they're going to go to the Hague for criminal charges, which is kind of ironic because Salamanders burn people to death with flamers, but fuck, what would I know about what's cruel? Alright, next HQ up is the Consul Legion Delegatus. It's a pretty cheap upgrade. It's 15 points. You get a free Mastercrafted weapon, which is pretty good, because again, Centurions don't normally get those. So the upgrade's basically paid for itself. You get the Master of the Legion special rule, and you can take him in games below 1,000 points, which means you can take a Rite of War, that kind of thing. Okay, cool. You can also take a Command Squad too, if you're a Master of the Legion. Where it gets interesting though, is he has his own special Rite of War called Chosen Duty. Designed mostly for small games like Zone Mortalis, Strategic Raid, Chosen Duty makes veteran tactical squads troops, and 2 are mandatory. He's also worth a victory point if he survives the game, but he awards the opponent an extra 1 if he dies. Only downside is, he must be the army's warlord, is the wording of his rules. Well, if he's in an allied detachment, despite it being sort of the job for a Delegatus, leading a smaller detachment where a Praetor isn't required, yeah, doesn't work because the allied detachment doesn't contain the warlord, the primary detachment does, so you can't take it. It's retarded, I know, but Forge World just... they'll get 9 out of 10 rules right, but the ones they fuck up, they just leave you just slapping your head and going, how? Face palming. Anyway, next console along is one of my favourites, the Legion Praevian, another one that gets a lot of use with me. Another support officer, yeah, okay, it's a downside, but I usually take a Praetor with 3 mastery levels in my 1,000 Suns, and the Praevian just for good looks, because monstrous creatures are fun. Essentially, this is sort of like a Forge Lord, Master of the Forge. He can take Cortex Controller, Cortex Detonator, in fact he comes with them, and you get the choice of either a Vorax or Castellax squad that joins to him. Pretty cool. So essentially you get robots, and these robots get the Legiones Astartes rules for your chosen legion. Now there's a few restrictions on this. If you want, you can choose not to take them, and instead you get to pick a special rule, either Furious Charge, Tank Hunters, or Scout. Now, which one of these you pick, it varies. I'm a big fan of running Vorax with my Praevians. I have run Castellax a few times, but Vorax are pretty good because you can give them a Legion as a Astartes rule and use the Scout to still outflank onto the table, which is pretty handy. Anyway, different legions, what do they get? So, first off, the Dark Angels. Castellax can take Monster Hunters. Yeah, it's not bad. Vorax can take it as well. It's 15 points. Per model, it's not that bad, really. It depends how much you think you're going to run the monstrous creatures, though, because there's a lot of games where it just won't come into play, and you're paying a lot of points for it. If you have a full squad of 6 Vorax, 15 points a pop, yeah, it kind of adds up quickly, because that's 90 points right there. That's most of a tactical squad. For the Emperor's Children, they can buy Sonic Shriekers for the entire unit for 15 points. Initiative goes up by 1, essentially. Initiative 5 Vorax, straight before Marines, can be pretty handy. Yeah, nothing bad about it, nothing great about it, but cool little inclusion. I'd probably be more inclined to take Furious Charge, personally. Alright, Space Wolves. They can take counterattack, but it makes no sense because Space Wolves come with counterattack by default. So, just again, bad rules writing by Forge World. Speaking of bad rules writing by Forge World, the Night Lords ones, each automata counts as 3 models for Talent of Murder rule. That's fine. They can buy 4 points Trophies of Judgment, which makes them cause fear. Except they're a monstrous creature. They already cause fear. Writing rules is hard. Alright. Death Guard. Death Guard, you get 4+ Feel No Pain against Poison and Fleshbane, and that works really well with the Battle Automata's Cybernetic Resilience. So every time someone wants to poison your monstrous creatures, well, successful wounds have to be re-rolled, and once they've wounded you, you then get your Feel No Pain save on top of your armor or invul save if you have one. Do, however, take a -1 penalty to your sweeping advance, but it's not going to hurt you too much because the average, well, the amount your squad will use is 5 off the Praevian, so it drops to 4. Not the worst. Sons of Horus, each battle automata counts as 3 models for the Merciless Fighters rule, and they can buy Bane Strike rounds for 15 points per model, meaning that any regular bolter on them, and they have 2 by default, can pseudo-random Marines on a 6th wound. It is bad, it's expensive, don't do it. Free advice. Wordbearers can purchase Dark Channeling if a Diabolist is also present. It's a fluffy but not very exciting rule. You see, Castellax don't really gain anything if you roll Demon. The +1 strength, yeah, might help out in certain occasions. Maybe good combined with Furious Charge. Your Castellax can punch pretty hard then, like strength 9 off the top of my head. You could give Vorax a 5+ invulnerable save thanks to the Demon rule, but it's kind of pointless, really. Alpha Legion. The Alpha Legion gain mutable tactics on theirs, which, yeah, pretty handy. Can buy that horrible Bane Strike ammunition as well, but why would you? Yeah, just use the mutable tactics so you can infiltrate them, or give them tank hunters, or give them scout, or whatever works for you. There's a lot of overlap with existing sort of rules for them that they get if they don't take a Legion rule, so I don't know. Whatever works best at the time. And lastly, the Raven Guard. Battle automata here gain infiltrate and fleet. Well, Vorax already have scout and fleet, so take something else like Furious Charge or tank hunters. It is pretty cool though if you take a Praevian and infiltrate a squad of Castellax, maybe with, I don't know, multi-melters or Darkfire cannons right into someone's base, because they'll have to deal with them turn 1, and killing a big squad of Castellax with multi-melters or Darkfire cannons in turn 1, good luck. Oh, unless you're Custodes, because you can just kill everything. Alright, Praevian, fun Consul. Definitely recommend it in, well, pretty much any Legion. Any Legion can make good use of them, because monstrous creatures are very handy if you're fighting other monstrous creature armies, good against Custodes, that kind of thing. You do suffer in combat against the shield-equipped Custodes, but they add a bit of toughness, and I found, having played recently in an event where I ran old Pravian and a bunch of Domitar, thanks to Rite of War. When you load up on the monstrous creatures, they make up for the sort of general low toughness, poor armor saves of Marines. And I say poor armor saves because AP3 weapons are really, really common in 30k. And having stuff that is toughness 6 and 7 on average in a game that's based around killing toughness 4, well, it's very handy, very strong. So it works with any legion. Now the Herald. The Herald is a 40-point upgrade to a Centurion, so very expensive. And there's quite a lot of limitations. First, you can't be the compulsory HQ, which means you can't take one in your allied detachment. You get to take a Rite of War, but the enemy, if they kill your Herald, they get an extra victory point. What else? You don't benefit from having additional close combat weapon because you're holding a banner. You can't take a jump pack, can't take a jet bike, can't take a bike, can't take Terminator armor, can't take any weapon that's two-handed, but you get some interesting buffs. There's 3 different types of banners that you can use. Firstly, there's the Black Shields banner, which you gain fear and +1 leadership to all of friendly models in 12 inches. The Loyalist banner, all models with the Legiones Astartes rule, including the Herald, which are part of the Loyalist force within 12 inches, gain +1 weapon skill to a maximum of 5. Some forces it'll be alright for. I think it's a bit overrated. The better one is the Traitors banner. All models with the Legiones Astartes rule, including the Herald, which are part of the Traitor force, get to add +1 inches to both charge and run distances, and they may reroll ones to hit on the turn they successfully charged. Now you're paying the same points for that as +1 weapon skill to a maximum of 5. Fuck off. It's just, I don't know, it's bad rules writing. Speaking of bad rules writing, because the Herald has the right of command and support officer rule, you can't take him as your compulsory HQ, but he has to be your warlord. So you can't take any other model that has to be your warlord, so no Delegatus, that kind of thing. So essentially you have to take like a stock Centurion at a minimum to just sort of fill the compulsory requirement for your army. Then you take another Centurion, upgrade into this guy, and then he can actually buy a command squad. So you can put the guy with the Legion banner in a squad with the guy holding the Legion banner. It's just, Again, Forge Rule, they'll get 9 out of 10 rules right, but the one they fuck up is so monumentally dumb. It defies common sense, you know? It's not bad dumb, it's just you sit there going, how did no one pick up is there any proofreading? Like, what, huh? You get exasperated by it. Anyway. The Siegebreaker. The Siegebreaker is a consul that really works well with the Iron Warriors, Death Guard, Iron Hands, that kind of thing. And he's a consul that gives Tank Hunters and Wrecker rule to the unit he joins. So very strong when equipped to a squad of Tyrant Siege Terminators, that kind of thing. Pretty much a guy designed around breaking buildings and breaking vehicles, but adds nothing else to the army overall. Oh, and a little thing, if you have him in the army, you can upgrade your Medusas, Basilisks, that kind of thing, to have Phosphex rounds, Thug guns as well. Very, very nasty type of ammunition to take, and considered pretty much outright broken. Yeah, another good consul. So yeah, getting back to what I was saying earlier. Consuls I would take: the Chaplain, the Centurion, the Master of Signals, the Siegebreaker, the Forge Lord, and the Primus Medica. They're the core sort of consuls you'll use all the time. Whereas you'll find that like the Vigil Ater, the Moritat, very, very little value to the game. The Herald, another one that sometimes will come in handy. Same again with the Champion. The Delegatus is an optional one. The Delegatus is good. It's a good consul. It's cheap. It's effective. It's just you've got to pay that extra tax because he is a Legion support officer, and again in an allied detachment, not very useful because you can't take him. So it's that trade-off. Same with the Librarian. Can be useful, but often just turns out to be a complicated thing that you have to apply all these extra rules for that never really does much for the team. Anyway, Back with the Outer Circle, I hope you enjoyed my rundown on Legion Consuls. I hope this gives people a bit more of an idea about the Legion Consuls, who they are, what they are, which legions they gel with, and of course what to stay away from and why it's good, why it's bad, why to stay away from something, and why Forge World can't FAQ these rules because reasons. Anyway, see you all next time.